Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Franchise Interviews. For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 6 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Chris Atkins, the vice president of franchise sales for the UPS Store. And the UPS Store has more than 4,300 independently owned locations in the United States, Puerto Rico, and U.S. Virgin Islands, providing convenient and value-added business services to the small office, home office market. And we're going to talk to Chris about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we've got a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com, 905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 6 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Chris Atkins, the vice president of franchise sales for the UPS Store. And the UPS Store has more than 4,300 independently owned locations in the United States, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great, Marty. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, thanks, Chris. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. We always like to ask our guests where you're calling from today, Chris.
I'm calling from the UPS Store corporate headquarters in San Diego, California.
Oh, fantastic. What a nice place to be right now, I guess, right?
It was difficult to take this opportunity. Yes.
I imagine so. UPS Store, I mean, has a great history, Chris. I thought maybe we can, dive right into that and talk a little bit about the history of the UPS Store.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I'll tell you a little bit about it. We started in 1980 as mailboxes. Mm-hmm. Mailboxes at that time was designed to be a convenient alternative to the post office.
Right.
That company grew well. They did well throughout the 80s and 90s. But by 2001, caught the attention of UPS.
Right.
And UPS purchased them in 2001. In 2003, just a few short years later, they came together and rebranded the stores as the UPS Store brand.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2003, about 3,000 of the mailboxes, et cetera, locations we had at the time rebranded as the UPS Store.
It's great. I mean, you using the word rebranded. I was on you'll like this, Chris. I was on a New York radio station last week, and they were asking me who's going to be on the show next week, and I said the UPS Store. And you guys have done, a great job as far as branding, haven't you? I mean, I know you've won several awards, in terms of branding. I can't remember the exact award. Was it the American Brand Excellence Award?
Yes.
That's fantastic. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Not to mention all the other accolades that the UPS Store has gotten over the years. I know Entrepreneur Magazine continually ranks you as the number one in your category as well. So it sounds like things are going great at the UPS Store.
They're going very well, and we are very proud of that brand. Just as all our owners were very proud of that MBE Store brand, they wholeheartedly embraced the new brand. The UPS Store, and hanging that shield on our door gives us one of the most recognizable brands in the world.
Absolutely.
So it was a good marriage at that time.
Absolutely. Can you describe the UPS Store franchise system? And if you're at a show, everyone kind of knows who you are, but if someone came up to your booth and they said, "So what do you guys do?" How do you typically describe the franchise system to prospective franchisees?
Okay, Marty, I would first go back and talk about the history a little bit. We're time tested. Okay, we're a proven franchise model that works. And I would talk a little bit about the history that we originally started as a convenient alternative to the post office, but from 1980 to 2013, we have evolved. We have evolved to we are a solution provider for small businesses. So if you think of anything small business needs, from an office, shipping, packaging, printing, anything a small business would need, in that type of environment, we are the solution.
It was interesting, because you guys do have a lot more services, maybe than even people realize, Chris. I know when I was on the website last week, I said, wow, I didn't realize that you guys do this or you did that. So I think that's fantastic. The industry, the numbers are pretty phenomenal. Do you have any up-to-date numbers as far as how big the industry is today?
Well, the retail shipping and postal industry. We haven't really market-sized the industry. Mm-hmm. We're really in the solution-providing business, as I said, and the logistics business. Look at the worldwide logistics business. It is probably hundreds of billions of dollars, if not trillions, in opportunity from that perspective. The print industry is just an extremely large industry that we have not taken full advantage of yet. Most people don't know we're a printer.
Exactly. That was new to me too as well. I said, "Wow, I didn't realize you guys do that." I think that's fantastic. I was excited to have you on the show for a lot of different reasons, but there's something new going on at the UPS Store. You have a new franchise model called the Main Street model, Chris. And I was wondering maybe if you could talk a little bit about that, because that sounds really exciting.
It is. We're very excited about that. We're a mature system. Okay, so we've been around for 3 years now, and we have. As you indicated at the start of the show, over 4,300 retail locations in the U.S. So we need new verticals to grow. But we don't want to grow for the sake of growing. We want to grow to service our small business customers. So that's why we came up with our Main Street model. We realized that about 95% of the U.S. is rural open space.
Right.
And about one-third of the U.S. population lives in those urban or non-urban settings, those rural settings.
Right.
So we introduced the Main Street model to not only give people with entrepreneurial spirit to open up a business in those markets, but to serve those small business customers in those markets that need the same products and services that a small business owner would need in an urbanized or suburban setting. That's why we opened up the Main Street model.
It's clever, it really is. And, of course, the cost, I guess, being lower, Chris, to get into that type of opportunity? I guess like less space compared to a traditional UPS store, would you say?
It depends on the space. We anticipate some people will be able to find the same amount of space, if not more, for much less from a lease perspective than they would find in a suburban market.
That's true.
We aren't requiring all the same equipment. We don't require a gate. We've lowered the franchise fee. We've done some things to make it easier for a prospective owner to get into business with the UPS store without sacrificing any of the services and products that we offer today.
That's great. What type of characteristics do you look for in your franchisee, Chris? I mean, I know you meet with a lot of prospective franchisees for the UPS store. I mean, what do you look for typically?
That's a great question. If you take a look at the background of our existing franchisees, you're talking all walks of life that they come from. People who have never been in business, the people that have had a history in managing a company or running a company or having their own small business, people that maybe were just in a mid-management role in another company. But what we look for is not necessarily their background, but somebody with a passion and somebody with entrepreneurial spirit that wants to be successful in whatever business venture they move into. And you get that excitement and that passion and that entrepreneurial spirit, they're not going to fail.
I agree. So I imagine the characteristics for the new Main Street model is not really much different from the traditional model, is it?
No, it is not much different. But you know what's different? Well, actually, what works in our suburbanized settings and our rural settings is those owners are going to live and work in those markets, and they're going to know those other small business owners. Yeah. That's what allows them to grow their business within the market that they're in, whatever setting they're in.
That's true. I guess that diversity is really added to the UPS store as well, Chris, and probably part of the success of the UPS system as well, as you said, is having people from all different types of backgrounds, contributing to the franchise brand, So I think that's fantastic. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the training for new franchisees. Once you decide, that you like them, they like you, and they want to move forward, what happens after that, Chris?
Describing our training in a word is comprehensive. That's the easiest way to describe our training. So once we decide to award a franchise to a prospect, we put them through a rigorous training. They do a tremendous amount of, 40 hours of WBT training. They do a week of in-store environment where they're actually in a store training with one of our certified trainers. At that point, once they successfully complete that, we invite them to San Diego, what we call the UPS Store University, which they learn everything a store owner would need to learn, from keeping the books to packaging a shipment to selling a mailbox and how to talk to customers. Once they successfully complete the UPS Store University, they're awarded their certificate. They go back and spend another week in another store.
Wow.
And they get additional hands-on training. And by that time, hopefully, the store is being built. So as soon as training, within 30 days that they're opening their store.
So they're confident and they're ready once they've completed the training. And as you said, it does sound very comprehensive, isn't it? It sounds like there's a lot of information provided to the franchisees, which is fantastic and, of course, important. And I guess they get that experience of what a typical day is like, too, don't they, Chris, in that training? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that for our listeners. What is a typical day like, if there is such a thing anyway?
We try to train them on a typical day, but a typical day varies based on the market and the customers they have. And things change that. Based on the market they're in, they may have a big rush of customers in the morning. Another market may have them in the afternoon. If they're in one of our non-traditional locations, such as a hotel or a university or a military base, that day is anything from typical. And it's hard to paint the picture of a franchisee typical day because it really depends on them, too. If they're going to go out and work the business the way they should, they're probably not going to be behind the counter. Many of our franchisees own multiple stores. So they start out in this business typically as a business owner, a small business owner, working in the store and developing customers for the store, and they typically grow to own 1, 2, 3, or multiple stores. Then they become the president of a company. So it depends on the store owner you ask. I doubt if you ask any of them, you would find the typical day is the same with any store owner.
That's true. Yeah, it's always a tough question. You mentioned some interesting facts about location, Chris. I mean, if is the UPS store looking towards like non-traditional locations? It seems like it's a trend going on in franchising today. You know, as you said, like Army bases and hotels and things like that. It sounds like you're open to those things as well.
Absolutely. We seek out those opportunities. We actually opened our first university store in 1987.
Really?
So it's been around for a long time. We have ramped it up dramatically over the last few years. We opened 30 non-traditional locations last year. We'll open 30 more non-traditional locations this year. Hotels seem to be the biggest emphasis on it, and military bases. Military bases are fantastic because we get to serve our service members, and we just think that's tremendous.
That's fantastic. You've been involved in franchising for a while now, Chris. What advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise? We find that many of them, you know, they're new to franchising. They like the concept of franchising, but so many of them just don't know where to begin with all the different industries and all the different franchise systems. What would you say to them?
Let me give you my executive answer first, and it's check out the UPS store first.
Okay.
And aside from that commercial break, let me give you a little more details of what I would encourage someone to look at. And that would be to do your research. Do the research. Everything online is not true. Okay?
True.
Talk to as many people as you can. Talk to as many other franchise owners as you can. Search their FDD. Look for the things that look at the item 19. Look at the openings and closures. Look at the litigation issues that may be against that franchise. Do your homework, because once a prospect decides to move forward and they invest a significant amount of money, we don't want any of them to have buyer's remorse, nor does any franchise want them to have buyer's remorse. You want them to come into the system well prepared, fully researched, talk to as many people as they can, and make a solid decision that this is the right business opportunity for me.
That's great. It sounds like the UPS store does provide an item 19 too. You know, of course, because you mentioned it, but not all franchises provide that either, do they, Chris?
They do not. I think the trend has changed over the last 10 years. More and more folks are an item 19 because when you talk to a franchise prospect, that's the first question. I think it would be for you and I. So we decided to put gross revenue per store average in there for the last 3 years, and that's what ours shows.
That's fantastic. Well, I think it's great advice. So what's the future bring? I mean, if you were to look in a crystal ball, 3 to 5 years down the road, Chris, I mean, where do you see the UPS store?
I see the UPS store is growing at least at 100 stores a year. We're going to open more than 100 stores this year, and I think that's pretty significant for a brand that's the size of our brand. We don't have 900 stores with an open white space in the U.S., but we're going to continue to grow through traditional settings, through our Main Street model, and through our non-traditional settings. We have an aggressive plan this year, and we're going to continue to grow aggressively as we move forward.
That's great. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information, Chris, on becoming a franchisee and all the services that the UPS store provides? Any websites that you would direct them to?
Yes, sir. It is the upsstorefranchise.com.
Okay.
I think you're going to find the site very easy to follow. You're going to see some of the work-life balance and hear testimonials of our franchisees on that website. And on any page of that site, a prospect can click on a link to a webinar and sign up for a webinar, and then you talk about something that's completely non-committal just to hear what's going on and be able to ask questions and to hear about the UPS store franchise. It's just a tremendous way. We probably run 100 people a week through the webinars just out about our system.
That's fantastic. It was great to finally have you guys on the show after 6 years, Chris, and I'd already like to invite you back next year as you continue to grow. I want to learn more about this new model.
That would be great. Thank you for your time, Marty. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Chris. Have a great day today, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Franchise Interviews For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Need a business loan? Talk to Diamond Financial Services, the experts in franchise financing nationwide. Whether you're looking to start a franchise, acquire an existing franchise, or expand your territory through opening new locations, Diamond Financial stands by your side start to finish. From pre-qualification to packaging and presenting your application to securing a financial commitment and through the loan closing process, Diamond Financial is there. While you're waiting, thousands of others are making their financial dreams come true. Don't wait any longer. Pre-qualify now by completing a confidential, no-obligation financial analysis. Let's face it, traditional banks just aren't in the business of financing small business. At Diamond Financial, we specialize in securing franchise loans from $100,000 to $3 million and equipment leasing up to $150,000. Let us help you get started. Go to www.franchisefunding.net or call 877-508-2274. That's franchisefunding.net, 877-508-2274.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, which podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting franchise interviews now over 6 years and over 300 shows, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on the show. Today you're going to get to hear from Ellen Dunn, who is a franchisee to the Wild Birds Unlimited franchise system. And frequently on the show we'll ask our guests, why franchising? Why did you go into franchising? And I thought Ellen's answer was really unique out of all the guests we've had in 6 years. She spoke about the importance of having relationships, and you know, she even thinks of the franchisor and her fellow franchisees as friends. So I thought that was very clever. She also took an assessment of what, you know, maybe her possible weaknesses were and her strengths, and you know, she says that the franchise can help her with things like advertising or marketing, which, you know, wasn't really in her background. So we're going to play that clip for you right now and enjoy this edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Here we go.
I left and started my own business. I always had a corporation behind me, right. And I knew that I needed someone that could offer me all the things that I didn't get from the corporate world. And after interviewing several other franchisees, I knew that WBU was where I was going to get all the things as a small business owner that from the corporate world that I couldn't get on my own, such as the HR and the marketing.
Right. So you were sold, or you were convinced on franchising right away, Ellen. You kind of like knew that, you know, you wanted to be an entrepreneur, but franchising was probably the best alternative for your situation.
Correct, because I didn't have all the expertise for mainly the marketing, the advertising.
Sure.
Because I always, as I said, I always had a corporation behind me at my other jobs, so I didn't know how to go about doing all those things on my own. And a franchise is the best way to get those items.
That's fantastic.
Did you know the category? Really well.
Did you know the category was going to be retail, Ellen? I mean, there's like 80. I think there's like 80 different industries. A Wild Birds Unlimited franchisee.
Well, that was one of the things I was nervous the most about going out on my own was missing relationship building because again, coming from very large corporations, I was worried about not having friends.
Sure.
I must say,
that's interesting.
I have tons of friends. All the different store owners, building the relationships with all the store owners here in New England and across the United States. I just have lots of relationships, and the relationships at the Franchise Support Center. I can pick up the phone at any time and call any number of people to talk to and bounce off, crazy ideas that I might be coming up with, and they'll either laugh with me or think that it's a great idea or tell me I'm out of my mind. And it's just been a wonderful support group. And there are people to talk to when you need those different supports, whether it's crisis management or whether it's just somebody to talk to. There's always somebody around that you can talk to or go out and spend an evening with. There's always somebody there to do that. And I really didn't think I was going to have that support group anymore.
It sounds like it's the culture, too, at Wild Birds Unlimited that you enjoy, too, Ellen. And listening to, I've never, in the 6 years of doing that show, I like how you mentioned, use the word friends, which I think is very powerful, the relationship with franchisees and also the relationship with the franchisor. I think that's very powerful what you said. So I think that's fantastic, and it sounds like, as you said, there's always someone to talk to, and you wouldn't get that if you did this on your own, would you? If you called it, Ellen's Birds Unlimited, I guess it would be a lot more lonely experience.
Right. Yeah, so and they are my friends. I mean, Paul is right up there, and I'm just not saying that. Paul's up there, and I mean, any number of them. I mean, I look at them all as my friends, and whenever I think of coming to the end of this relationship at some point, to me it's going to be incredibly sad because they're all my friends, and I value all their friendship and I value their knowledge. They have great ideas. I don't always agree with their ideas, and and they always go along with that, and they accept when you don't agree with them. I don't know. They don't always like it, but and they always accept the criticism. And I think sometimes they let you go away on your own, and whether it works or whether it doesn't work, that's accepted, which is good to know.
Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.